Viewers, welcome to Science Spectrum with Don. This is the first lecture in the series of videos in Math 188, which is the fundamentals of mathematics. And I will start off the first lecture, or so to speak, the first part of the first lecture with ratios, proportions, and variations. And of course, these ratios, proportions, and variations, they are actually intertwined. So I will start off with ratios. So what's simply a ratio? We could take, for instance, let's say I have a piece of gingerbread. Okay, let's say it's rectangular shaped. And let's say I'm to share this piece of gingerbread with two persons A, and of course with also persons B. And of course I'm to share this in this ratio 1 to 4. In other words, if I could express this as fraction, this is 1/4. So it means A would get this, and of course persons B would get 4 times of A. So what this simply implies is, if you express this as decimals, it simply tells you how much more or less persons A or B would get in the gingerbread. So what is ratio basically? Ratio is the value obtained, like the value obtained on the board over there, is the value obtained by when two similar quantities. Similar quantities implies that they must be of the same units. When two similar quantities are compared by dividing them. That's ratio. So when you compare the value obtained when two similar quantities are compared by dividing them, of course, that is ratio. And of course, ratio tells you how much more or less, okay, a person's share would be to, of course, another, if, of course, the quantity in question is of the same unit. All right, I'll give you an example, a quick one. Let's say I have 250 ml of milk. This is of milk. And of course, I want to know what the ratio of 250 ml of milk, that's milliliter of milk, would be to 1 liter of water. And of course, it's a good one simply because they are similar quantities. The units are the unit for volume, and that's liter or milliliter. So clearly, I'm interested in knowing the ratio of 250 ml to 1 liter. So what would I simply do? I do know that a milli is 10 raised to the power minus 3. It's just a prefix. The unit is liter. So I could take the decimal points 3 places backwards, and once I do that, I'll get 0.250 liter, and this is 1 liter. And of course, the units cancel out. So what this simply tells us is this, that 1 liter, when compared to 250 ml of milk, is 0.250 times more than this. That is what ratio is all about. Now, there are basic things we could note in ratios. There are basic things we could note, aside from the fact that it tells us how many more or less, okay, two similar quantities out to each other. The first thing to note is this. Let's take, for instance, let's say we're given, this is pronounced ratio A to B. So we're given ratio A to B. And of course, I could express this in fraction as A divided by B. Of course, you could also get the pair of its decimal from there. Alright, having said this, let's see if, let's say, a quantity to be shared, the total quantity, the overall quantity, this is overall quantity to be shared, overall quantity to be shared, And of course, let's assume, okay, it's to be shared in the ratio A to B between two persons. So the question is, what would be the first person's share and the second person's share, given the overall quantity to be shared? This could be money, or it could be an item. Alright, so the rule is a quick one. The rule is the fact that the first person's share, the first person's share would be whatever the value of this term is, A over the sum of the ratios, that's A plus B, and of course you have to multiply that by the overall quantity to be shared times the T. And the second person's share would be whatever the value of that is over the sum of the ratios times the total quantity to be shared. So let's do a working example. Let's say the total quantity T is 560 naira, and it is to be shared just like in the ratio A to B. It is to be shared in the ratio in the ratio 3 to 4. So we are interested in knowing what will the first person's share be and the second person's share be. So the first person's share, straight to the point, solution from the template you have up there. The first person's share, would be this value, which is just like the same to ratio A to B. So it's 3 over the sum of the ratio, that is 3 plus 4. And of course, you could multiply that by the overall quantity to be shared, that is 560. And of course, this would be 3 over 7 times 560. Now, the multiples of 7 would, let's see how many 7s you could get in 56. So it's just a quick one. Always note this, the multiples of 7. Okay, I could just start from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, of course, and the list could go on and on. So 7 times 1 is 7, 7 times 2 is 14, 7 times 3 is 21. Just keep adding 7. 7 times 4 is 28. So if you add 7 to this, that's 7 times 5, this becomes a 35. Okay? Then 7 times 6, just add 7 to this, becomes a 42. 7 times 7, add 7 to this, you get 49. Add 7 to this becomes 56. And of course, this is 63, and of course the list could go just on and on. Now this is 7 could go 56 divided by 7, you could get it 8 times. So 7 in 56, this is 8, and I'm left with a 0. So this becomes 3 times 8 with a 0 in front. And of course 3 times 8, that is 24. Then you stick in the 1 0 in front. And of course you get 240. So the first person's share out of the overall share would be 240 naira. Now the second person's share, the second person would get the second person's share would simply be this other value, 4 of the ratio, over the sum of the ratios, of course that's a 7, then times the overall amount to be shared, 560 naira. And of course I know I could get 8 7s in 56, I'm left with a 0, so this becomes 4 times 80, and that's in naira. 8 times 4 becomes a 32, sticking the 1 0 in front, and of course. Now, you could actually verify. If you sum the first person's share to the second person's share, you must get the overall share. And of course, we could do the job. 240 plus 320, this is 0, this is 6, and of course, this is a 5. And of course, it's very correct. Now, we move on to another example. You may need to beam this for a while, and also this. Maybe I will need to wipe this up. Alright, now, what if the quantity to be shared is given as ratio? Let's take for instance, let's say the quantity to be shared is given as a ratio. So let's say the quantity to be shared is given as in the ratio, let's say x to y. And of course, let's say these are the quantities to be shared. Quantity to be shared or divided. And let's say this will be shared, okay, shared in the ratio, let's say a to b. Now, what would the first person's share be? The first person's share will be definitely a over the sum of the ratios, a plus b. And of course, you multiply out by the sum of the two, because this has to be the variable point, so that is x plus the y. This is the first person's share, and the second person's share would be b over the sum of the ratios, a plus b, times the overall points, which is the sum of the two, that's x plus 1. Alright, now, it may interest you to know this, that if you have a pair of ratio, let's say ratio a to b, which is in fraction is a over b, the term up, often we use the word numerator, and the term down is the denominator. But there is a special terminology to this. The term up is always the antecedent. This is the antecedent, and the term down is always the consequent. So these are things to note in the ratio. Alright, so let's move on from here. I'll give more and more example. So the other example is coming up shortly. So another example is this. Let's say 780 naira is to be shared among persons P, Q, and R in the ratio, or just say in the ratio 1/4 to 1/3 to a half. This is ratio 1/4 to 1/3 to a half. So the question is, what would P get? What would Q's share be? And what would person's R share be? Straight to the point. So P's share. Now, I'd like you to understand something, that this ratio is given as in fraction. So the first thing first is, I'll look for the common denominator, which is the LCM of this. So I have the solution to this. This is 1/4 to 1/3 to a half. Now, if you look at the denominators here, to make them equal, if you multiply, or just take the LCM, which is 12. So if we divide through by 12, or just say multiply each of these terms by 12, which is the LCM. LCM is 12. So I'll multiply this by 12. 12 times 1/4. The LCM, which is 12 times 1/3. And of course the LCM, which is 12 times a half. So you see this will go 3 times. This is 4, and this is 6. So this boils down to the ratio 3 to 4 to 6. And of course, I can't really divide further. Alright, so the P's share would be 3 out of the sum of the 3 plus 4 plus 6, then times the total amount to be shared. That's times 780 naira. So this becomes 3 over 13 times 780. And of course, I may need to wrap it up here for the sake of time. But in our subsequent videos, I will give the answers to what P's share, Q, and R share will be. Please, if you're new to the channel, you may want to like, share, and subscribe for more content. Thank you.